Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome to 7th Street.
Oh, good lord!
Cannibal Films. It's an interesting subgenre, to say the least, and it's one that I haven't really been that interested in until like the last 5 years of my life. For some reason, it's always just been a little bit gross to me. It's not really the effects or anything, it's just the whole idea of these like tribesmen in the Amazon and being lost in the swamps, being eaten alive by, it's kind of gross. It's a type of movie that I really can't eat while I'm watching, and I'm usually not that squeamish. But I've been a fan of Italian splatter for the last at least 12 years of my life, so it's interesting that I didn't get into the cannibal subgenre until recently. But I thought that we would do 7th Street Productions' top 5 cannibal films. Number 5, Mountain of the Cannibal God.
Why is everybody so scared of Tupuka?
They were the ancient inhabitants of Rarami.
In their language, Rarami means Mountain of the Cannibal God.
This one makes it on the list mostly because it was directed by Sergio Martino, who, in my opinion, is probably one of the most underrated of the Italian splatter directors from around this time. I did movies like Island of the Fishmen and The Great Alligator, Torso, I think maybe one of his most famous ones. But anyway, I kind of went around and around trying to figure out what number 5 would be. I would give an honorable mention to The Man from Deep River, and The Green Inferno even crossed my mind, but I quickly banished it and went with Mountain of the Cannibal God. There's nothing too crazy about this one. The storyline is pretty typical. It's about this woman who her brother, I believe, is lost in the New Guinea jungle.
Please help me. I don't know if Henry's still alive, but until I'm certain that he's dead, I'll keep on looking for him, even if I have to do it alone.
And she enlists the help of Stacy Keach. Stacy Keach is in this, and I think her boyfriend or her other brother is with her. It's been a little while since I've seen it, but like I said, there's nothing too crazy about it. The effects are pretty good. There is some animal mutilation that kind of comes out of nowhere that's pretty graphic and pretty crazy. If anything, I would say check this one out just because Martino's a really good director, and you sort of forget that Stacy Keach used to be good looking, and he's got chops. He's got some real acting chops. So check it out.
Those cannibals forced you to partake in their rituals.
Yes, and it was horrible.
Number 4, Cannibal Apocalypse. Directed by Antonio Magritte. I hope I'm saying that right. I have no idea. This movie stars Giovanni Lombardo Radici, who's probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Italian actor from around this era. This movie also stars John Saxon as this ex-Vietnam vet who, the movie starts with this flashback back in Vietnam, and there are these POWs who get rescued who've been kept down in this hole, and they've resorted to cannibalism. And cannibalism in this movie is almost like being a zombie. It's transferred by bite somehow, like it's some sort of disease or something. I mean, it's no doubt making some sort of commentary on how we treat our vets, or what Vietnam did to people. But this movie is the only one on my list that takes place in a city. The Giovanni Lombardo Radici is he's from Vietnam, and he gets out of this mental institution, I believe, and he ends up going on this rampage. This movie just has great action sequences, some really cool effects, like where I believe it's Radici who gets shot while he's down in the sewer system, and he gets this whole hole blown through his stomach. It's a pretty crazy film. It's definitely definitely worth a watch. Number 3, Cannibal Ferox. I know that most people think this should be higher on the list. I'm sure a lot of people put this as their number 1. It's definitely the movie I would show to somebody if they had never seen a cannibal movie before. It's pretty stereotypical. It's really, it's pretty goofy and pretty tongue-in-cheek, yet also mean-spirited and extremely violent. This one also stars Giovanni Lombardo Radici, and it's directed by Umberto Lenzi, this is probably his most famous film. I knew him from Nightmare City, but I think most people are introduced through Cannibal Ferox. Once again, story is pretty stereotypical. It's about this lady who's writing her thesis paper on the idea that cannibalism doesn't really exist in the world. And she travels to the Amazon, where they meet Radici and his friend, who have been attacked by the local tribe, and they're claiming that they've had their dicks cut off and eaten by this cannibal tribe. And it turns out that they were really stirring up a bunch of trouble, and sort of drew the local tribe to being violent and to resorting to cannibalism. There are great effects in this. I imagine that everybody's already seen it, but there are some crazy scenes where, like, Giovanni Lombardo Radici's dick is cut off, and they have this hilarious-looking prosthetic that they put on him, and, like, the balls are, like, a little bit too small. It looks like he's got little baby balls. But the movie is crazy. There's a lot of animal violence in it, a lot of violence towards women, and a lot of sexual undertones. The Green Inferno was no doubt ripping this film off, especially with the ending. I imagine everyone's already seen this, so I don't feel like you need my recommendation. Number 2, Cannibal Holocaust. I know that you're probably shitting your pants that this isn't number 1 and neither is Cannibal Ferox. I'm sure that's all you guys can think about right now. Once again, I'm sure everybody has seen Cannibal Holocaust. It's a groundbreaking movie. It's the movie that got me into this genre. It is the first found footage film. It's about a documentary crew that goes into the Amazon. Well, the movie starts with these people trying to find this documentary crew that went lost. They find their film canisters and start watching it and slowly learn that they've been hunted by this cannibal tribe that's mutilated them. It's a really grim movie. I remember leaving the theater and being pretty down, actually. I think it's one of the few times that a movie has had a really lasting impact on my mood. I think for the next day or so, I was sort of taken back by the movie, and I rushed out and bought a DVD of it.
It's unbelievable. It's horrible. I can't understand the reason for such cruelty.
Unfortunately, it's not the same after for multiple viewings. It really only affects you the first time you see it. But it's a crazy film. Ruggero Deodato is easily one of the best in the genre. And yeah, I highly recommend this film. Number 1, Cannibal, or The Last Cannibal World, or Ultimo Mondo Cannibal, if you want the original title. It was also directed by Ruggero Deodato, and it came before Cannibal Holocaust. It actually came before the cannibal subgenre was very big, and that's why it's my favorite. It's actually creepy. I just watched this again recently to make sure that it was still my favorite, and it is. It's treated. It's not tongue-in-cheek. It's treated very seriously. and it's treated a little bit more like an action-adventure film rather than a horror film or an exploitation film. It's about this crew that goes out to the Amazon. Like always, the Amazon just sucks. Never go there. Don't ever fucking go to the Amazon. This lane of 4 people, they go into the Amazon, and one by one, people start getting lost. And eventually it ends with the guy, the main character, I believe he's played by Ivan Razumov. I'm not sure. One of the characters is Ivan Razumov, but he gets lost in the jungle, and he's just sort of wandering around. He ends up eating some magic mushrooms because he's like starving, and the next thing he knows is he's been abducted by this tribe that they saw him fly in on a plane, and they assume that he's like some sort of god, and they keep him in this little cage where they keep their other birds, their other things that can fly. And it's really bizarre. It's really sad. Every time you watch it, you're kind of like, your stomach drops when he like notices that he's alone, and when it's just down to 2 people and they're like trying to cross the river, and the friend gets sucked under the rapids, and it's really crazy. It's kind of like those different movies, like, forget the name of it, but where the guy gets his arm stuck in the mountain and has to cut it off, and all the different movies about being lost on Mount Everest and everything. This is kind of one of those films, and it's definitely eerie. It's definitely a creepy film, and it predates Cannibal Holocaust, so how can it not be your number 1?
Of course, we sent out search parties, but there's little chance of finding him in this infernal jungle. The Tajadots are cannibals.
All right, guys, there you go. 7th Street Productions' top 5 cannibal films. Make sure that you leave a comment below telling us what your favorite cannibal films are. Make sure that you subscribe and like. Make sure that you follow us on Instagram. Make sure that you follow us on Facebook. Shoot me a message. We'd love to hear from you guys. Until next time.
I wonder who the real cannibals are.